find my little. Good morning, everybody. Let's start with roll call and convening. Commissioner Seworth, President. Hello. Sorry.
Commissioner Levitt, present.
Commissioner Scott, present.
Commissioner Prescott, present.
Commissioner Matheny, present.
Cleveland Horton, Executive Director, present.
Nicolette Young, Assistant Director, present.
General Counsel present.
Glendora, your voice is very, very low.
This Zoom. Glendora Hughes, General Counsel present.
We hear you. It's just, I'm just letting you know it's very low. We hear you though. We faintly
Barely.
hear you, but we got you.
Okay.
Candace Crenshaw, Education and Outreach Director, present.
Spencer Dow, Special Assistant to the Executive Director, present. Glendora, I'm going to come around in a moment and help you right now.
All right.
Good morning, everyone. Alicia Bell, Civil Rights Officer, Supervisor.
Good morning, Ryan Murray, newly installed Civil Rights Officer Supervisor with the Employment Investigations Unit.
And I think that's all we have, Madam Chair.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public? I didn't see them in the participants, but I'm also not.
Yeah, I don't see any, Madam Chair.
Okay. Then I guess we will move to my report. So first off, everyone, thank you so much for your continued commitment to our mission. I just wanted to cover a couple of issues and then move on to a call for action to the commissioners. So I want to give you a little bit of an update on the Maryland General Assembly. At the Senate, we're considering a joint resolution based on the work of the Maryland Terror Lynching Commission. And it was a apology, and it fell into three categories: failure to protect Black American residents from racially motivated mob violence, states' active and passive collusion in covering up the murders as they occurred, and failure to provide meaningful justice to victims, survivors, and descendants of those who had been murdered through mob violence. Unfortunately, it looks like they've stalled in the legislative process, and it does not look at this time like they are going to advance. While disappointing, I just want to let you know that the individuals and the organizations that have been making up the work that was done, both under the commission and as stakeholders, have all committed to continue advocacy. And they are identifying what they're calling flag bearer organizations who will continue to carry the work forward in the next legislative session and sustain public awareness and pressure between sessions. I also want to address, I know that one of the concerns that we've talked about as commissioners is the impact of some of the ongoing activities by the Federal Immigration Enforcement, Customs Enforcement. While these activities have received substantially reduced media coverage in recent weeks, due in large part, I think, to the ongoing war conflict, however we're categorizing that right now with Iran, I think that we have to be aware that their impact on our communities has not diminished, and we need to continue to identify ways to support persons regardless of national origin. There also continues to be ongoing discrimination that impacts individuals across all dimensions of diversity. I was very saddened to read the new analysis that was released on the eve of the Holocaust Remembrance Day that found that fatalities from anti-Semitic attacks in 2025 reached their highest total in 30 years. What we need to do is be aware and to make sure that our work reflects that what we don't want to happen is to become a new normalized reality for individuals who are experiencing that and also experiencing the trauma of knowing that it's going on. I also want to make sure that we're being aware of discrimination and bias effects affecting other religious communities, that we don't focus on one dimension of diversity, but rather keep our gazes open to all, and that we continue to address concerns with the same rigorous protection of all civil rights. I also wanted to point out that this week we've seen a historically unprecedented dispute between our administration and the Vatican. And what concerns me about this is the use of government authority against a religious institution. It raises fundamental concerns about the proper boundaries between state and religion. So I just want us to be mindful of that and be aware. I also want to turn our attention to what I think is the most consequential, and it is our call of action, not because other matters are less important, but because our ability to respond effectively to all of them depends entirely on what our goals are. I'm talking about our strategic planning process. Our commission is currently operating in an environment that continuously demands more of us, commissioners, and more importantly, our staff, those that are in the day-to-day work. And as you know, I've just sort of talked a little bit about, these issues are not hypothetical. They are active, they are urgent, and they are present. And we need to be in a commission that is ready to meet them. That readiness does not exist by accident. We have to build it. And I think our leadership and our staff have been doing that. They have deliberately, systematically, and deliberately really pulled together to make sure that they are being thoughtful about who we are and the work that we must do. So I'm calling on all of us, those present, those who actually watch the video or read the minutes later, to become full, active, and have sustained commitment in our strategic planning initiative. This starts with, hint, hint, committing to participating in the meeting Spencer has been working to schedule. It's not a staff function or an administrative exercise. Strategic planning is the work of the commission itself, and it is our work as well. It really defines who we are, what we stand for, and how we deploy limited resources, and most importantly, how we show up for Marylanders that depend on us. I'm about to get off my soapbox, so I just want to say that I'm asking for your full engagement, and I thank you as always. I'm done.
Thank you,
Yeah, I
Madam
didn't
Chair.
expect that one, did you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We appreciate it. I only have a few things for my report. The first one really is just to introduce Ryan Murray, my apologies, who is one of our bright stars here at the commission. He's been with the commission for several years. We've had the opportunity to promote Ryan to Civil Rights Officer Supervisor. We are looking forward to him continuing to utilize his talents and being an asset to the agency. I just wanted to bring him on to the meeting to allow him to introduce himself to you all, and for you all to get to know Ryan. You'll see Ryan more frequently now since he is an active member of our leadership team, and we are truly excited to have him as a part of our leadership team. So with that, Ryan, if there's anything that you'd like to share with the commissioners, I hate to put you on the spot, but you know me by now. You know that I absolutely will take the opportunity to do that. So I just wanted to give you a few minutes just to introduce yourself to the commissioners.
Sure. So thank you, Cleveland, for the introduction. As Cleveland shared, I have been with the commission for 6+ years now, going towards 7. I've loved the commission. Commission has been a great asset to my life. Came in right at the peak of the pandemic. So I was learning on the job, starting with teleworking, but with the support of everybody here, been able to do the best that I can with the commission. For many of you, I've seen you at some of our events, our gala, things like that, but really happy to be a part of the leadership team and to continue to work toward the efforts. Many of the things that our chairperson has talked about this morning, very eager to get involved in some of those additional efforts to help, alleviate discrimination across our state, and do my best to help my local community as well. So thank you, everyone, for welcoming me today.
Congratulations. Very exciting to have you here.
Cool. Also, you all will notice, looking at the report that we submitted, we had almost 300 inquiries come in last month. And I say that just so that we're all aware that we continue to see an escalated number of inquiries coming through our agency. We expect that we will double the number of inquiries that we had last year. But again, I do take my hat off to staff who have truly just been diving in to figure out how we handle the onslaught of inquiries coming in. And it's not just an intake unit thing. It really has been a total agency effort. So all staff has kind of jumped in to kind of figure out how do we make sure we're handling the intakes. So we've assigned intakes to our investigative staff just to make sure that folks aren't waiting an unreasonable period of time just to get their intake through the agency. Again, I just want to take a hats off to all of our staff who have been committed to assisting with the onslaught of cases that we do see coming into our agency. So when folks ask, is discrimination still happening? You all can say with full confidence that absolutely it is still happening. We see it each and every day. But again, I just take my hat off to the staff who are always being flexible and willing to pivot to ensure that we are making sure that we're addressing these complaints as they come in. The last thing I did want to point out really is just to give a shout out to Spencer and Glendora. And I'm sure you will hear from both, if not at least one of them later on today to talk about legislative session that ended at midnight. So we are all obviously, I know that Glendora and Spencer are ready to do the relaxing dance, right? That the crazy session is now over. But as you all know, we obviously tried to get through our departmental bill, which I'm sure one of them will talk about as well. But I just wanted to highlight the work that they put in reference to getting this bill introduced, in reference to coordinating efforts between the advocates, making sure that I had the talking points for our hearings. And even though Glendora decided to attend the Final Four during the Senate hearing, we won't hold that against her. But I really do just want to thank them, for both of them, for all of the work, the late hours, the weekends that they put into engaging in these conversations to get this bill to where it was. Ultimately, we didn't obviously get the bill passed as we had hoped, but we all know it is very hard to get a bill passed the first time around. And the fact that we were able to get it to the point where we did is really highlights the work that both of them put in to this bill, right? I mean, it was just outside of the regular Cleveland meetings, and Cleveland needs to meet to talk about this, and Cleveland wants to meet to talk about that. They had to meet with all the advocates, rewrite the bill, make sure that we had everything in it that we wanted in the bill. They had to kind of navigate what we wanted as an agency, kind of what the advocates wanted, also listening to what was coming from the opposition. It was just constant conversation. So I know you all had the opportunity to see the highlights of the hearings. Glendora did a great job during a House hearing to make sure she was able to respond to and answer all the questions that were coming from the delegates at the time. And Spencer, who's just been any and everywhere to just make sure that our presence was known and that folks had the information that they need in reference to our bill. So I truly just wanted to thank Glendora and Spencer for the work that they put in this session, not for what they do normally around legislative session, but truly just the amount of work that went into just this one departmental bill, right? Outside of all the other stuff that they were tracking and keeping track of. But it truly was a great effort by them as a team to just get us to where we were. So we're looking forward to, I know we talked about what's going to be our plan for next year, and we're looking to engaging in that effort again next year. But I just wanted to highlight Spencer and Glendora and let them know that their work does not go unnoticed. So thank you both.
Thank you.
And with that, I am free to answer any questions that you all may have for me at this time. No questions?
No questions. Just as always, extreme appreciation, as you said, for Glendora and Spencer, but also for your leadership too as well, Cleveland. I think,
appreciate it.
that needs to be called out and added to the list, if you will, of
Thank you. I
accolades.
appreciate it. With that, I know she always talks about, because I put it in the back. So I am going to switch it up this time. Glendora, have at it. It's all yours.
Wow.
Surprise, surprise. Not me. Good morning, everyone. As Cleveland has said, it was an interesting session, but it's an election year, and there are some things that we pretty much forecast what was going to be the challenge of our education bill. And usually something of this magnitude, you just want to get it in the conversation as a policy, and get people to consider it. We House Bill 649, we were able to get it out of the House, but we couldn't get it out with the amendments. And so really this bill, I would have been shocked if it had passed, because we had to do a lot of drafting and amending. Part of it was figuring out the right combination and ideas for the bill drafter. So the bill drafter got it to us a little late. And then the amendments to the bill were a little late, which is why they weren't voted on in the House and were over to the Senate. I think the opponents did not expect it to get out of the House. And so they pretty much did not testify and did more of a in the background lobbying. And then when it came out of the House and went to the Senate, they were like, oh, it's moving. And so they came out in full force on the Senate side, which we did not surprised by. Spencer and I pretty much told the advocates what we thought the touching points were going to be. And that turned out to be what the touching points were going to be. That was the private right of action and the issue of expanding the coverage of private schools to those schools who do not receive federal funds, which the research could possibly be a constitutional issue involving trying to regulate institutions that don't receive government funding and the government trying to regulate them. So that is an issue that we will look at in terms of the redrafting of the bill. Also negotiate with the advocates, because we told them right out the gate from our experience with the public accommodations bill that private right action was going to be a sticking point. And sure enough, it was. But so that is another issue that we have to talk with the advocates. We are pretty clear that if it is to save the bill, we will let it go, because we would still have the enforcement authority to enforce the bill and also our access to the courts. But that is something that we'll talk over the summer, and also looking at the opposition, the issues. I think one of the unspoken issue with the religious private schools, they're not saying it, but we know that the issue is the protected class of sexual orientation and gender identity. We know that is their sticking point. They have not said it, but we know that it is. So we're going to look at the legislation that passed in 2022 that gave the Department of Education some semblance of a review. And that did include sexual orientation and gender identity, and to see what was the conversation that went on then. So we're my preference was that it did not come to vote in the Senate, that the signs were pointing to an unfavorable. So I would rather that it stayed in the drawer rather than getting an unfavorable vote. And then we can go back and incorporate a lot of the amendments that we had that would answer a lot of the questions that were raised, and to look at the main sticking points over the summer as to how to resolve those issues ahead of time. A lot of it is politics, and a lot of it is who you know, and who you can get on your to be in those committee discussions. Spencer, having been down in Annapolis, knew some folks. I've known some folks, which is how we got out of the House. So it's getting to know some more folks over the summer that can be the leaders in assisting us in the committee, particularly on the Senate side, and addressing and also doing our homework in redrafting the bill, incorporating some of those concerns, and coming up with a game plan to go forward. Again, it's an election year, and when something is a hot button issue, people not sort of shy away. because they're trying to raise money, and some donors may have their position and they're listening to them. And so it's not necessarily that it's a substantively a bad bill or a bad issue. It is politically, at this point in time, some folks were shying away from it in the Senate committee. And the good thing is that we now know what committee it would go to. We did not know what committee it was going to go to. We didn't know whether it was going to go to judicial proceedings in the Senate side or the triple E's, education, environment. I forgot the other E that's added to it. But we didn't know when it came out of the House, we didn't know what committee was going. Now we know. So now we can begin to strategize on reaching out to committee members and finding out what their concerns are and making those adjustments. I'll do a deeper dive next meeting on all the other bills. We're waiting to see what gets vetoed and what gets signed into law, since they just pulled down the curtain at midnight. So we will track those and we'll have a final report for you in the next session. You have my report before you. We did settle one of the cases that we had, which involved it was a housing case on the Eastern Shore, dealing with a support animal where a woman was ready to take the keys to a house and was rejected by the landlord because of the breed of her support animal. And she had just been homeless. She had just checked out of her hotel and then was rejected by the homeowner because of their defense was that the insurance company had a breed policy that would prohibit certain breeds from being on the property. And we filed suit against the landlord and the insurance company. And the landlord settled separately for $25,000. And we just wrapped up the settlement with the insurance company for $15,000 and $5,000 for the Civil Rights Fund. Dorchester County. And we're very, very happy for the complainant because she went through a lot, but she was a fighter and she hung in there and she was ready to go to the full with full force. But we're very happy that we were able to get the settlement for her that she deserved in terms of her mistreatment. I don't know if you all checked in on the hearing of your lawsuit. Then the appellate hearing in the Fourth Circuit where the Seventh-day Adventists sued the Attorney General and Cleveland Horton and me and all of you independently, and that they had the Fourth Circuit oral arguments last month, and it was very interesting because they had 3 cases that dealt with religious exemption and the constitutionality of state laws that prohibit discrimination based on religion. One was dealing with, I think, education with the school system. And then the other one was the Doe versus the Catholic Relief Services, which dragged us in because under the Supreme Court of Maryland's ruling involving interpreting our statute, that the ministerial exemption exists, and that we have to look at the position that is being challenged, i.e., is the person involved in ministry or are they simply involved in, like in the Doe versus CRS, it involved a IT person, a person who was basically had nothing to do. They basically dealt with keeping the computers running, and he was denied. His spouse, who was a male, was denied coverage after they found out that he was married to a man. And he filed a sex discrimination complaint saying that he was being treated differently than his colleague whose husband was covered. And so the issue is in terms of, can the religious institution is constitutionally, is it a violation of the Constitution to enforce against the religious institution to say that you can't discriminate against someone who has nothing to do with the tenets of faith or anything to do with the propagation of the faith, which then the Seventh-day Adventists sued us, saying, well, you might follow the Supreme Court of Maryland's interpretation, and so we want to get an injunction to stop you from doing what you might do. And so that rolled into our case, and the Attorney General's office argued the case since they were sued as well. And we probably in the fall, we may hear something. It clearly, listening to the judges, the 3-judge panel, is that they really don't want to deal with this because there hasn't been a definitive ruling on the Supreme Court level, and that they really, that the circuits are all over the place with different versions of it's unconstitutional, it's not unconstitutional. But it will be interesting, but seems like they're intending to read those 3 cases together and make a call. And I will keep you posted on that. I think Magdalena, you have your hand up.
Yes. I just wanted to ask you from the previous case, what was the breed that they didn't like or that was in the insurance that couldn't be a support animal?
I think they were pit bulls.
Okay. And the reason why I'm saying it is because it's not uncommon that pit bulls are prohibited in apartments and in many states, not just that one. So it was favorable for her, but I'm not surprised of the pit bull
Well,
breed.
well, the insurance company, there are riders in insurance policies against breeds, but under the Fair Housing Law, it's unlawful to discriminate and prohibit a support animal simply because of the breed. You looked at, I think in Maryland, they make the owner of the breed liable, not the landlord, liable for anything that should happen involving their dog.
Interesting. Okay.
And that was always the concern, was would it be the liability on the landlord? And in Maryland, I think in the one part of the code, they changed it to say that the liability would be on the dog owner should there be any mishap involving, because they're just a assumption involving breeds that don't bear out statistically. And that's why they found that it was unconstitutional.
So you're saying there's pit bull discrimination?
No,
Well,
there are other kinds of breeds.
I know. I just couldn't help it.
I know you had to put that in there, but yeah, it is just pit bull discrimination.
well,
But
there
you
have
know
been
what
so many incidents with the pit bulls and accidents and people being aggressive and so on.
But
So,
it's the owner, not the breed, is
Right.
really what it boils down to. Just certain breeds can be bred to be mean.
Mhm.
And pit bull's one, but it's the owner. I mean, not bred to be mean. They can be trained to be mean. Certain breeds just can't be trained to be mean. And so, but interesting in Maryland, and I can just tell you this, found out recently that yes, the onus is always on the owner, but it is hard to enforce um, situations where a dog does cause harm, like to a human or another animal, even death. It's very hard to enforce those. It's interesting, only because, like, literally in the course of a week, I knew of two situations related to that, which is sad.
I mean, I've had a case where the dog was not one of the prohibited breeds that was not trained and was aggressively attacking other dogs and running wild because the owner didn't train the dog. So that is the problem dealing with support animals, is that they're not trained like service animals. And that's one reason why that there is, in terms of support for them to be in the work environment or in public, is legally limited because of the fact that they're not trained and that they don't know how to react in being around other folks and being around other animals. Whereas a service animal, if you've been around them, you don't even know they're in the room because they have been trained to be around people and have been trained how to act in public and are not, in fact, they're not aggressive. They're taught not to be aggressive, and they many times are attacked by other dogs.
Right. So this was a service animal, correct?
This was a support animal. It was not a service animal.
Oh.
And in housing, you can have assist and support animals. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Medora. With that, I'll pass it over to Nicolette.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. You do have my report for review. At this point, we are at 67.3% on agency expenditures. At this time of year, we should be at about 75%. However, there was a delay in hiring our new staff members that should have come on board on October 1st. Most of them did not start with the agency until December, and we're still in the process of hiring, and we've also had quite a bit of turnover at this point as well. And so we do have some cost savings, which is a benefit to us, because that means that we have not expended as much as federal funds as we had anticipated. As Cleveland mentioned earlier, we do have some promotions as well as new staff members that are coming on board. We just hired our office secretary, Stanley Gonzalez, who came on board April 1st. And we have 2 civil rights officer leads that will be starting with us tomorrow. So we're very excited to have them join the team. Also, again, congratulations to Ryan Murray for his promotion effective April 1st, as well as a civil rights officer lead for Stephen Levine. And he will transition to his new role starting tomorrow. Sine Die did end yesterday. We did not have any additional cuts to the agency's budget outside of the abolishment of the administrative specialist position that was cut during the governor's allowance. And we don't anticipate, of course, that will not have any impact on any of our case processing investigations. They did update the requirement for the legislative narrative, which will now include a status of filling vacant positions in fiscal 26, as well as how the focus of education and outreach positions were included in that as well. So we will be able to provide them that information, and that report is due on November 1st. Just one general housekeeping item. The state ethics financial disclosure is due on April 30th. If you did submit a report of financial disclosure in 2025, they do have your information on record and you would have received an email. Please make sure to check your spam because that deadline is coming up very soon. I do want to make you all aware of a situation with our HUD funds. We did receive the 2025 reimbursement amount last month. However, both Cleveland and I have been having some issues logging into our accounts in order to do the reimbursements, to do the drawdown for the reimbursements. I did notice that I did not have the authorizations that I had previously had back in January when I updated my account. I did reach out to HUD to get assistance with that. That has not been resolved yet. Just this morning, I did log into my eLocks account to see if maybe there's been an update and I still don't have those authorizations. I did notify Cleveland of the issue, and he has also reached out to them as well, and he's been kind of locked out of his account as well. So not necessarily sure what's going on. Cleveland did share that other states have been having the same issues as far as being able to try to do their drawdowns. So it's not something that we are going to go ahead and monitor it for now. However, it could become a problem down the road. So we at least wanted to make you all aware of that situation, not being a conspiracy theorist, but just, with the current climate that we're in, and especially with the ongoing lawsuit that the state and other, the multi-state lawsuit that we're engaged with HUD, that's being spearheaded by our Attorney General's office. This may be an impact for us down the road. So I just wanted to make sure that you all were put on notice, and we will absolutely keep you up to date if we have any additional information to provide. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
I have so many questions, but you can't answer them.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you for the reminder on the ethics disclosures. I just want to, if I can really quickly reiterate, everybody get them done. They are very important. They can cause a lot of trauma and drama if they are not completed timely. If
These
anybody
went
needs-
out, the requests went out earlier, like months ago, right?
February.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I was like, wait a minute, is this something new? No.
No, if
Okay.
you log in, it'll tell you if you've submitted it yet and if you haven't. Kimberly?
Can somebody just send out, because there was a mention of if it was done in 2025. I don't know if I did it in 2025. I just need confirmation of whether I need to do it or not.
You have to do it every year.
Yes.
So, yes.
Every year.
Well,
every
I
year.
haven't gotten anything.
You would have got,
anything.
maybe check your spam from like January, February.
Yeah, that comes from the Ethics
Spam
Commission.
deletes my spam deletes every 15
You may
days. So
have
I'm
to
just
contact
asking
the Ethics
that I
Commission.
So Kimberly, I will send you that information offline.
Yes, but you have to
Okay.
do it. And this is the same form that got a former Maryland or Baltimore police commissioner to have some criminal time. So please take this seriously, guys. It's very important.
Yeah, well, and this is the one that got expanded
Yes.
because of
not that
the
it's not
universe.
important. It's just
Yeah.
that I don't have it, and if I don't have it, I don't know how to complete it. So
Sure.
I know.
yeah.
I'm just reiterating because I care. I want to make sure everybody gets it done and that there's no drama. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And thank you for the reminder, Nicolette, because we don't know who knows to do it unless we talk about it. So thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you.
Yep.
Nicolette, I have a question. This is Magdalena. If you cannot withdraw funds, how can you then operate? Give us some hints of what are you doing, how you're being creative.
Sure. And that's a very good question. So the way that the state is set up, or at least how we're set up, we do have a mixture of both general funds as well as federal funds. Our general funds are probably about 80% of the funds that we receive. And then, of course, the remaining 20% is a mixture of federal funds as well as special funds. However, federal funds only pay for like salaries and other operating expenses. We are able to continue our operations, but even when we don't receive the federal funds, we're just running basically a deficit. Okay, but they don't tell us, okay, well, because you're not receiving your federal funds, that means that you now have to start laying people off. I don't think we will ever get to that point because we're not 100% federally funded. The Department of Budget and Management is aware of what our situation is. We have to do projections every quarter, and I'm in constant communication with the Department of Budget and Management about where we are financially and us being able to do a drawdown. I think probably what will happen in the future is that the state will just front load the money for us and then reimburse itself back, which is kind of how it does right now. They go ahead and just, because we're not receiving the federal funds, they still process the payroll. So our pay is still covered, and then we reimburse the state back once we're able to get the federal funds. So it's a kind of a sticky situation, but it's not something where the building's burning down, and we have to make sure that we're fully funded. The state will take care of us at some point. We just have to ensure that we're being responsible with how we are using the agency's funds moving
So
forward.
a follow-up two-part question. Has this happened ever before? And second, if you don't get the funds towards the end of the year, you did mention that that is this happening for some other groups. Are you trying to maybe collectively do something?
We're suing.
So you
So,
you want me to respond to that, Nicolette?
well, sure. Yes,
All
you
right.
can go ahead.
So if you recall, Magdalena, so we are in current litigation with HUD in reference to their guidance as well as some payment issues. So we are handling that piece through that. We did receive notification from HUD late last night that they are beginning to process our 2025 funding reimbursement. So I just got the email late last night. So me and Nicolette haven't even had the opportunity to talk about it as of yet. So we do look forward to being able to bring those funds back into our account. So normally what happens, as Nicolette indicated, it really isn't new per se because all of our funds from the federal government have been reimbursed, right? So
Okay.
we expend funds, we do things. If we go, and so then once we get those funds back into, we're reimbursed for those funds. Then the state takes whatever is owed back to the state. So same thing will happen now, right? So if we run into, for instance, the red waiting for these federal funds, once we receive these federal funds, it will satisfy our budget. Nicolette will do her best to make sure we close as we always do in the black, not in the red. But whatever funds are owed to the state will absolutely take those funds once we receive them, the funds that they've already put out ahead of time. So it's not necessarily brand new. Now, I would say the relationship that we have, obviously, with our federal partners is new because of the current administration, the level of the lack of communication, some of the policies and processes that we're having to go through. That environment is new based off of this current administration. But from a reimbursing standpoint, from a payment standpoint, it's always been somewhat similar to what we have right now.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions for Nicolette? Cool. Thank you, Nicolette. We appreciate
you.
you as
Appreciate it.
always.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Candace.
Good morning, everyone. All
Good
right.
morning. Good morning,
Thank
Candace.
you.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
On behalf of
Good
education,
morning.
thank you so much. On behalf of Education and Outreach, during the month of March, we collaborated with the Prince George's County Office of Human Rights. Our events in March were very, very intimate, and it was really awesome to just really connect with the community members. For our Women's History event, we had Prince George's County State's Attorney Jackson and also County Executive Aisha Braveboy in attendance to provide special remarks. So we were grateful for their participation and the community's participation. Also, our Young Scholars Program will launch in May and June. May with the Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women, June with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. So we will begin our Young Scholars cohorts of this year with those entities. Lastly, as we prepare for our gala, this year we have our nominations for our awards. So we have our Community Impact Awards, and also I will send this in an email as well. So we will have 2 Community Impact Award honorees, and we will send out information and details so that different entities, individuals can nominate individuals or organizations. We have the requirements and the criteria so everyone can follow along to know who to nominate or any suggestions that any individuals have. We also have nominations that will go out for our Glendora C. Hughes Award as well. So this is a new approach, but we're excited to approach this in a different way. So you all will receive those details. In the email that I will send regarding the gala, I will also ensure that I send some dates so that we can meet to obtain any ideas that you may have for the gala or any input that you may want to be considered. Also, this year, as you know, we have our Maryland Commission on Civil Rights Foundation. So ticket sales and table sales will go through the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights in the ticket portal, and all sponsorships will go through our Maryland Commission on Civil Rights Foundation. So any individual or agencies that are nonprofits, they can, well, we are our nonprofit, but if any individual sponsors, they are able to then get a tax write-off. So we'll have those details as well. We do look forward to everyone being able to participate and also support our gala for this year. That is all I have for education and outreach. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't.
Thank you.
Just a big thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, that is all for staff reports.
Excellent. So I did not see any members of the public join, so I think we can just move on to old and new business. We've talked about the legislative session already, and then I have hopefully poked about the strategic plan meeting. Anybody that has not done it, please respond to Spencer if none of the dates are ones that you can make work, suggest dates. We are going to hold it as a hybrid meeting as much as possible. Please try to participate in person. We're looking at Fridays just because I think it's been communicated that those are easier for a number of individuals to participate in person. If those are completely off the table, let us know. This is really important work, guys. It really does define who we are and where we're going. So I would like to see, I'd actually like to see 100% participation, please. This is worth it. This isn't just today, it's the next 5 years. So now that I'm off of my soapbox, does anybody have anything to add to that?
I just wanted to add to that, actually, Madam Chair. So I think part of what we've been trying to do as we think about how we roll out our strategic plan is to do so in a public way, so that folks are from a transparency standpoint, so that folks fully understand our plan moving forward for the next 5 years. So we are working with, and Candace and her team are discussing now, working with Baltimore Center Stage to do a public rollout of our strategic plan in June. So the dates are very important to us, right? So for you all to kind of meet and talk about it so that we can make sure we finalize this plan ahead of time, so that we can do this public rollout event that we're going to do in the latter half of June for the public and for our stakeholders to attend. So just be mindful of that as we think about the dates. I know you all are talking about figuring out what date what works best for everyone. Obviously, the sooner the better. To your point, Madam Chair, we would absolutely love to have 100% participation so that we can make sure that every voice is heard as we finalize what our plan will look like for the next 5 years, so that we can solidify and move forward to kind of finalizing and creating any materials around our strategic plan that we'll need to create for the event. So we are looking forward to that. So just please keep that in mind as you are having discussions about the dates and when you are going to get together to have that conversation.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you providing that there is a time-bound necessity to doing this earlier versus later.
Yep.
So, I'll follow up and see who has or hasn't responded, and then we will get a date on the books. Again, please, this is a priority. Questions, comments, concerns, any other new business? Hearing none, seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That was
Second.
enthusiastic.
Yeah, I'm
It's-
about to say she said.
You know, it's been a month.
Heard. Second,
Second.
all in favor? All right.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Thank